The magnitude of the issues facing the world requires an absolutely huge injection of imagination. There are many challenges that face us: climate change, the energy, the depletion of natural resources, to name but a few. But the thing that defines us as species more than anything else is the ability to view insurmountable issues as an opportunity. The future of manufacturing is linked with the future and prosperity of humanity. So, while we stare into the future full of uncertainty and challenges, let us imagine what it should look like and then use all our collective skills to make it happen. To grasp the future of manufacturing, one must first comprehend the industry's current state and observe how leaders are strategically preparing their companies for future expansion. And that is the first panel discussion of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd now like to welcome our panel members on stage. Moderating this first interesting panel discussion, I'd like to invite on stage Dr. Ravindra Udgikar, Vice President Corporate Strategy, Praj Industries Limited. Can we clap and welcome him, everyone? It's now time to welcome the panel members on stage. Once again, we'd like to welcome Ms. Suman Mishra, CEO Mahindra Last Mile Mobility, to join us on stage. Let's also clap and welcome Mr. Uday Narang, founder Omega Siki Mobility. Can we clap and welcome Mr. Uday? Let's welcome Mr. Ganesh Shinkre, CEO Western India SFO Technologies.
What a pleasure.
Mr. Rafiq Somani, Area Vice President, India and South Asia Pacific. Can we clap and welcome him, everyone? Let's also welcome Mr. P.V. Chakrapani, Director, TechSol Energies Private Limited, to join us on the panel. Well, here we are with the first panel discussion of the day, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Can we have everyone settle down here, please? We are starting the panel. All right. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Vibor, Sujata, and also Hafiz for putting up this wonderful day-long program at the Manufacturing Awards. It's becoming an annual ritual to be not to miss event with a rich plethora of not only panelists, not only speakers, but also wonderful lineup of the content, which as manufacturing sector professionals, we can only ill afford to miss. So I think wonderful plenary session, Sumant Vermaji this morning, a very insightful deck on Havel. Here we are now for the panel discussion on the future of mobility. I just want to start off with a quote by Antonio Guterres, the United Nations President, who said that the era of global warming is over and the era of global boiling is here. And there is a reason why he said that. July of 2023 was recorded as the hottest month ever in 120,000 years of history. The August of 2023 went down as the hottest August ever in the history. On the 6th July, the average surface temperature of the earth was 17 degrees plus, which was again the record of its sort. Sometime in end July, in August, the average ocean temperature was to the tune of 21 degrees, again the highest ever recorded. There is a place called Death Valley in the borders of California and Nevada, which recorded a temperature upwards just shy of 54 degrees centigrade. All this are telling us that the global warming is here and now, not at our doorsteps, but already in. And it's evident that it is triggering climate change. If you look at the climate calamities in last 2 decades of previous millennium and compare them with climate calamities in the first 2 decades of existing millennium, there is a significant rise of those climate calamities, be it droughts, floods, heat waves, extreme cold climate temperatures and whatnot. And what all this does is it gives immense economic setback, it has loss of infrastructure, property damage, and more than that, human life casualties. If most of the economic setback, which is of the tune of some $400 trillion over 50 years or so, was in developed economies, 9 out of 10 lives lost were in developing economies. This almost sounds like a climate change summit or a sustainability summit. And how does that connect with the mobility here? There is a bold line connection, gentlemen and ladies. About 25% of the global greenhouse gas emissions are attributable to the transportation sector. Transportation sector, after industry, is second largest consumer of energy and also emitter of greenhouse gases. And I think as we saw in Suman's presentation, that automobile industry is often considered as a barometer of the economy. If the auto industry is doing well, that means economy is doing well. Obviously, because generation and consumption points are different, and automobile industry has a fantastic role in connecting those points, transferring goods, people, creating employment, attracting global investments, exporting, whatnot. I mean, we can go on and on. But then on the downside, we have to be also cognizant of the fact that we are second largest contributor to the greenhouse gas emissions, which is in turn leading to climate change, which is in turn leading to climate calamities, and it's a snowball effect. So what do we have to do now? We have to revisit the transportation or the mobility sector as a whole and see how we can reconfigure the mobility sector. Already there are landmark changes coming in the engine domain, as we saw that IC engine, powertrain, then we have electric powertrain, that is happening. On the other hand, there is a lot of emergence of fuel landscape that is evolving. The watershed moment in the global biofuels industry came in the form of Global Biofuel Alliance that was signed by the leadership of India, Brazil, and America at the recently concluded G20 event. Actually opens floodgates for use of biofuels in the automobile sector. National Hydrogen Mission is actually paving way for massive investments to use hydrogen, preferably green hydrogen, as a source of energy, and which is also going to make manufacturing sector very resilient. So the terms like Atmanirbhar Bharat, energy self-reliant India, India's transition to net zero, India's self-sufficiency in terms of meeting its energy needs are all again integral and coming to manufacturing, and even more specific, the mobility industry. And I have a rich mix of panelists here who are going to talk about different kinds of engine technologies, different kind of fuel technologies, to see how we can reconfigure some of these things so as to ensure that we have a sustainable, livable planet aligned with sustainable development goals released by United Nations. And obviously, I think Suman was talking about the global mandates like ESG mandate, environmental social governance mandate, or some of the other mandates which is a net zero vision of the nation or big conglomerates. All that would again dovetail into manufacturing and in the automobile sector. So with that as a backdrop, I would like to open the floor to the panel discussion, and I would like to start with you, Mr. Chakrapani. You've been talking a lot about different sources of energy and different fuel mix that is available that is going to reshape and resize this automobile landscape or the mobility. Would you like to share some insights on that?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chakrapani, Director Texal Energies. I would like to thank manufacturing today for inviting for this wonderful conference and award ceremony where we are deliberating about the excellence in manufacturing and the current topic for the panel discussion. Thank Dr. Ravindra. This is about the future of mobility. So we are living in an era of energy transition. So all the energy usage and all the energy conservations and all the different types of industries, mobility, transportation, everything has been happening in the last century. So if we continue growing the same, then the global warming is already hit us, and this we are currently going towards an energy transition and eventually moving towards decarbonization and moving towards net zero. So worldwide, all the countries have already earmarked their goals for net zero and stop usage of the fossil fuels. So India also has taken a very giant leap in that, where by 2070 we would be net zero. And when it comes to the energy usage by India, so we have been very forefront in the renewables. So we are the largest, we have the very highest capacity of renewable energy in terms of solar and wind. And in terms of energy usage, compared to other economies, we are still a growing economy. So in the past 20 years, our energy usage have nearly doubled. And it is further going to increase by 25% in the next 5 years. So where are we going to head with this kind of energy usage? And going by the past development of the renewables, where we have done extremely well, and we are at the lowest level in the levelized cost of energy in terms of solar and wind. So what we have taken is to go for a self-sufficiency in terms of the energy usage. So in that aspect, even though 2070 is the goal for net zero, 2047 we should be energy independent. And with all these things, come the golden principles of Atmanirbhar, self-reliant, and again seeing the geopolitical situation which happened recently, we should be that the new terms which people are talking are energy security. So when it comes to all these things, we have a vision. We have different types of fuels. Like even though the electric is the major one which has been driving, I think for the past 10 years. Now we have identified another fuel called hydrogen. So hydrogen is considered as the fuel which can be used across all the segments. Not only mobility, even it can be used for all the industries. So for the entire industrial decarbonization and for the mobility, and when it comes to mobility, the major things are going to be road transport, but majorly in the shipping and aviation. So these are the industries where hydrogen can be a very big fuel.
Right.
And in keeping in line, our government has launched the National Hydrogen Mission policy, and the policy roles have been outlined, and all the new technologies are being planned, and there are a lot of electrolyzers which are to be built, and those kind of policies are already driven.
Very good. So I'm going to come back to you on this hydrogen, but I think you are absolutely right that the energy transition need not happen from coal to renewables only for the industries, but also from the auto sector. We are talking about transition to cleaner, greener energy sources. Thank you very much. Ganesh, I'm going to come back to you, and I think there was a mention, I think even Suman stole thunder in our presentation. She almost spoke all the topics. She said that the technology has the prowess to change the world for the better. When we talk about technology, we are talking about new technology. No discussion today is complete without innovation. So how do you see the innovation aspect reconfiguring this future of mobility? Would you like to talk about innovation?
So, thanks, Ravindra. I'll talk about a narrow area because this is a huge universe. The entire electrification space alone, from locomotives to buses to personal vehicles, it's huge. But I'll speak about personal mobility, which is, I suspect, not only the early runner, but also one of the largest chunks that affects us as an industry in India. So 2-3 things that I can think of in terms of innovation that I would look forward to understanding better or look forward to learning from, experience as people experience, as we see it. First is, in this space, one would expect, and perhaps Suman will be laughing at me, but or even you guys, but what one would expect is that there will be a larger number of varieties of product, and the life cycles of each of those products will be lesser as compared to what each of us has seen in the IC engine world. So you'll have larger number of products that change even more frequently than we did earlier. And the direct consequences of that is that we need to find innovation, and we already know that our supply chains, whether when they are suppliers to OEMs, those supply chains are very stressed in the current world itself.
Yes.
So an innovation that one would look for is what would need to change in terms of making those more responsible, more responsive and more flexible. The second is in terms of people skills. Look, at the end of the day, when products change quickly, you have to have people that are able to, across the entire organization pyramid. And the third, which is something that is aspirational to me personally, is that is there an innovation possible where an Indian company comes up with a platform product that is available to use across multiple OEMs? So I think those
Wonderful.
are 2-3 big ones that I
Big
can
ones
think
that
of.
can
Yeah.
But I like, Ganesh, the thought that you said that we got to look at the life cycle. They call it well to tank or well to wheel. So across the life cycle of the product, the innovations can happen. They need not be to do with design. And that actually fits in very well with the circular economy concept also: reduce, recycle, reuse, replace, replenish, repurpose, rescale. So I think we got to find out newer applications using innovation as a platform. Wonderful. I'm just going to go to this side to you, Rafiq. And again, at ANSYS, you've been seeing this landscape of transportation unfold very rapidly. You just mentioned during the break that 40% of your business is to cater to the automobile sector, and you are shaping the state-of-art softwares to deduce that last drop of efficiency. So would you like to talk us through the different pathways, how this future of mobility is panning out in times to come?
Yeah, I think good question, Ravindra. First of all, to give the context to your point, with 30 years of experience in automotive field, both in CAD and simulation, I think India as a nation has not missed the IT bus,
Yes.
but we have missed, maybe the mobile or 5G, 6G, what do you say, or solar. But I think we cannot miss the mobility. When I
Sure.
talk about mobility, new gen, electrification, and ADAS, autonomous, we cannot miss it. India produces 1.5 million engineers every year out of 5,000 colleges. And I think we already know what business we are doing in IT services, about close to $200 billion as per NASSCOM report. So very clearly, I think we cannot miss this bus.
Sure.
India can become, not only manufacturing giants are there like Mahindra, but I think in terms of the product development and engineering services opportunity, with the talent India is producing, I think we cannot miss that. That's point number one. Point number two is, when all the global giants, because again, if I'm working with 40% automotive companies, I work with all the international companies,
Right.
automotive, which have their back-end house or they're outsourcing to engineering services. So the point number two is, or opportunity for India is that everybody came to India for cost, and we have heard many slogans that we came to India for cost, we stayed back for quality, and we are investing in innovation. And I think everybody, we know that. And I am seeing this daily, every day. Where when I go to Mercedes Development Center, or I go to Bosch, or when I go to Aptiv, or when I go to Continental, all these international tier 1 companies and OEMs have their centers over here.
Right.
And let me give you an example. Mercedes-Benz, if all the IC work is happening in Germany,
Yeah.
all the case for the for the audience case is connected, autonomous, shared, and electrification. So the new gen mobility, people call it CASE, different acronym is there. But all the CASE work for Mercedes-Benz is happening in Bangalore.
In Bangalore, okay.
In India. So huge opportunity. As I speak, we have at least 50,000 engineers working in this international company
Yes.
on simulation alone, ANSYS
Wonderful.
simulation. So I'm not talking of other application areas. So that is point number two. We cannot, I can even quote that India is a simulation capital of the world. I'm talking to NASSCOM to highlight and come out with a paper on that. That's point number two. Point number three is cost of innovation, correct?
Yes.
Because of the quality manpower which India is producing, and I already mentioned, maybe, okay, traditional product development for mobility is happening in the parent countries, but the new gen, because of the engineers and the talent we have. So when you have the scale, the other countries may not have the scale of engineers they can bring. We can talk about Vietnam, Indonesia, and all these countries, but they will not be able to bring scale what India. So the cost of innovation will come when you use simulation, cut down multiple iteration, do multiple prototyping, virtual prototyping, and cut down. So I think innovation is happening in India. The third point is there is a huge opportunity for startups.
Yes.
I'm seeing a lot of actions over there. So a lot of deep tech startup in automotive mobility, electrification, I'm seeing that. And the fourth one which came out to my mind when Suman was presenting was India can also become a circular economy for
Yes,
batteries
indeed.
and electrification.
I
Huge opportunity.
Yeah.
I would say India should not miss this opportunity.
Wonderful. I mean, Rafiq, you hit the nail on the head. In the plenary session, I think Mr. Verma mentioned about digitalization as a big trend shaping manufacturing industry, and you spoke about digital twin, the simulation part, as something which is very fundamental to the new products development and to ensure that we have optimized time, cost, quality, quantity, risk. So I think that's a big trend. But one theme that is resonating ever since morning is talent, people. You talked about 50,000 engineers. You talked about need of skilling, reskilling. And I think that's my next question to you, Suman. You also made this presentation. How ready are we to take this leap of faith? How are we readying ourselves for the new mobility to have manpower or to have engineering graduates or even the mid-level managers going back and learning these new age skills and readying them to rise up the productivity curve?
So it's really across the spectrum where we need talent. I will start with the lowest end of the spectrum, which is our service and mechanical staff, right? The electric vehicle need different kind of service and it is much more software oriented. So the traditional mechanical guy who is used to, denting, fixturing, he cannot really serve it unless either he's upgraded or we get a new generation of mechanics.
Yes.
So from that end of the spectrum, where say the solution is to partner with ITIs, put service courses, all that what Mahindra Group is already, at least we are starting to do, and partnering with many skill development agencies. That is it's still a challenge, but at least it's one spectrum of the challenge which looks a little easier to solve. As you move up, manufacturing technology needs, again, much more precision. Here, one of the big things is that we are able to add more women.
Wonderful.
Which is great because it's not these giant big parts, but a lot of semiconductor assembly, manufacturing, motor, MCUs. These are all very small components, so we are able to add a lot of women. Then comes the R&D, right? R&D, there are two approaches.
Yeah.
One, of course, is reskilling the entire ICE R&D engineers to become EV engineers, which as a group at large, we are doing by partnering with many global consultants who can do this, but they can really do at the moment calibration and such. So we are, my company is lucky we have had our EV engineers for the last 10 years. So it's great because they have already a lot of experience in this domain, and also it works because you cannot outsource this part.
Yeah, no, I think
but what we don't have is, again, I mentioned a little bit, battery health, state of charge, recycling.
we are getting there. I would say
and
that
all those are new.
So
And on top of that, the global giants have come and established shop in India and are trying to poach.
So it's evolving landscape, so to say. No, I think the two great points I take away. One is you are saying that it's not only to do with institutions, but industries need to do hand-holding to be able to get these mid-level managers to scale up, and also internships and all that to go through the new age skills. But what I also liked is the participation of the women workforce, and we have all seen that Tata Motors WhatsApp video that is getting viral, that all women, wonderful, thank you. So Uday, as someone who has actually built a company grounds up in the electric space, you are seeing the transition in three-wheelers and more importantly on the commercial EV space. commercial EV space doesn't get talked as much as the passenger EV space. So would you like to shed some light on what's happening in that part?
Absolutely. My name's Uday Naranga, and I'll tell you what, absolutely what's exciting is, I think electrification, and I think, Dr. Ravindra, I'll disagree a little bit with you. I'm a very bold guy. I say my mind every time. I think, green energy, sustainability, climate change, ये अमेरिका, इंग्लैंड में और ऑस्ट्रेलिया, कनाडा में अच्छा लगता है. यहाँ only way, I continually work on my Hindi, so I'm going to speak in that a little bit, but the only way we're going to make commercial vehicles in scale is costing, TCO. I think nobody in this country, I'll tell you, I've done testing in last mile, even in the UAE, in the Kingdom of Saudi with commercial trucks. They get their ESG points, and at the end, the guy or the gal, and I want to make sure Nari Shakti comes in here, right? I know, Suman ma'am, you're doing a lot of work also in this space, not just Tara. Please remember, she's got a facility, and she's been working, and Mahindra's been working on this. But Nari Shakti is 48% of this country, and without them, we are never, ever going to be the third largest economy, or any economy, if we want to, talk about. वो सब फिर भाषण ही रह जाएगा. But most important point is, in the commercial sector, I think there are multiple solutions. Obviously, in the three-wheeler and the two-wheeler, the solution is there. I know there was a talk about somebody eating somebody for breakfast and then somebody having ice cubes in their drink. We'll leave that out. But the most important part is the TCO model for electric two- and three-wheelers are working. And I think, 5 years from now, I think, in my view, the game on ice is over. I think a lot of these people are not going to like me here. But whether it's hydrogen or whether it's EV, it's going to be there. In commercial, I think the reason why we don't, and I think you're absolutely right, we should be talking more about LCVs, SCVs, specifically the 1 ton, which is a 500,000 market. I think, we've got trucks at 6.5, 8.5, 50 tonners, but that's going to come later. What we really need to do, and I think solutions are there, but what I would say is FAME has had no talk whatsoever on trucks. We're talking about two-wheelers, with three-wheelers. We've obviously jumped onto buses. We've gone into tractors. But LCV market में काम करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. And I think, whether it's Sudhendu ji or whether it's the Department of Heavy Industries, I'm always talking about that. बातें और conference में मत जाओ, actually काम करो. And policy निकालो, right? And keep a stable policy, okay? If somebody violates a red light, हम सब लोग खराब नहीं हो जाते. I think there has to be a stable government policy. But I think LCVs and commercial trucks, the solutions are there. Fixed, fast charging, swap. I know Madam's working on it. Tara's come out with us. Switch. Mahesh Babuji's doing great work. We're working on it multiple. I think trucks need to happen. And this is the need of the hour. But also, Kam Zada or conferences may come, I think is extremely important. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your candid view. As always, we've been speaking at various panels. Not sure I share the perspective, but I admire the optimism. Let me put it that way. But you're right that almost 2/3 of India's diesel consumption is coming from commercial vehicles, and we need to focus there. So that's a great point. Rafiq, I'm going to jump over to you again, and this time to actually touch upon the safety aspect of the vehicles, safety, security. So much is getting talked about, the battery adaptation. We spoke in the morning session also, how the batteries are adapted to Indian conditions. So much is being talked about hydrogen. It's a difficult fuel to handle. So this safety and security aspect in this future mobility is so important. Would you like to talk us through what's happening in that space?
Yeah. So I think this is a very good question, Ravindra. And if I look at the safety, I'll break down into a couple of components. Where very clearly you mentioned about battery, and battery is the most important piece or heart of the electric vehicle. And if you know the power anywhere from 20 kilowatt kWh to 100 kWh, which is quite high, that's a lot of energy. So the way the charging, and when I talk about battery, I also extend it to hydrogen also, the way hydrogen is stored and fuel cell. This becomes very important. So how are you taking care of the cooling aspect, the shock torque which happens, the wear and tear which happens to a car, what will happen to the fuel, the hydrogen and battery, and the BMS, battery management system, and cooling and charging, all that become very, very important. So there are technologies in place like simulation technologies which help you to make sure that a car or a two-wheeler or a LCV or doesn't catch fire, and so that is very important point. The second one is crash. Typically when we think of electric, they say no, the front mein engine nahi hai, so it will not be safe. No, I think the CG and the number of parts of EV and ADAS and hydrogen is different. So I think again a lot of technologies are there where crash test, world-class crash test can be done with technology usages over there. So that is a second important piece. The third important piece, which more on relevant to electric and ADAS autonomous cars, will be the cyber security.
Yeah, sure.
And the functional safety. So when millions of lines in a common electric car, hundreds of lines of millions lines of codes are there, and if ADAS car is there, there'll be billions of lines of codes. So a hacker can intrude and play and make a mess up, and how the car is talking to another car, or how's your system. So there are some standards like in functional safety, ISO 26262 is a standard. In the cybersecurity, there is a standard for ISO 21434. Again, with millions of lines and billions of lines of software code is there, this needs to be tested and validated. The fourth aspect is, when an electric or a ADAS car is coming, a car has to be, multiple trips to moon and back. That much amount of testing has to be done as per the Toyota CEO. But, that will take decades.
Forever, yes.
So that means we'll have to use simulation technologies to do virtual validation and various scenarios, and even corner cases with the situation which may not have happened in the real life also.
Yeah.
So, these are some of the very important aspects.
No, I think it's wonderful, Rafiq. I think what's needed is more awareness. So while we take Uday's comment on board, Kaam Jada conference come, and I think Sujata is listening here, conference are required to actually communicate that there is enough work that is being done on the safety, security aspect of it.
Yeah, and so, sorry, Ravi, just to kind of link to my first point, that all this work is happening in India with the global OEM and tier one, Vineyard, Continental, Aptiv,
Mercedes. Amazing, isn't it?
It is happening here, and we have all these technologies and engineers who know that. Thousands and thousands of engineers are ready and trained on this. Yeah.
Wonderful, great. I'm just going to go to the other spectrum now. So much is getting talked about hydrogen, National Hydrogen Mission, big investments flowing into the space. FCEVs is getting talked about. How this whole hydrogen, there are demonstration buses that are on the road, how do we see that tipping point where it will hit the mass market, or let's say product commercialization? Would you like to talk us about hydrogen as a fuel landscape?
Yeah, definitely. Having formed the National Hydrogen Mission, the primary objective and the primary first thing which the mission objectives are to replace in the industrial sector. So hydrogen is not new to the industry. So in fertilizers, petrochemicals, refineries, and the new thing is in the steel industry. So there is something called green steel. Already we have Tata Power, Tata Steel first testing on the Jamshedpur plant using the hydrogen as a reducing element instead of coal. So the industry is the first thing which is taking the hydrogen as a main ingredient. It's because it is a reducing agent, and it is also a fuel. So being the lightest element, very easy to ignite, it is the fuel which is being considered in all the industries. So when the industrial adoption happens, slowly the target of going to the mobility, going to the mobility sector is being addressed. So for the mobility sector, I would say hydrogen is complementing the electric vehicles, because what you typically see in a hydrogen powered vehicle is a fuel cell electric vehicle, where you take a battery electric vehicle, you downsize the capacity to 20% and add fuel cell to it. So this is the industry norm which has been going on. So when it comes to fuel cell electric vehicle, there are a lot of pilot projects going on, and government has come out with some innovative concepts to bring out some innovation and R&D into the adoption of fuel cells into the industry. They have come out with 3 different type of projects. One is mission mode project, which is of a short term. Here when I say short term itself is 0 to 5 years, where the focus is to make an end product. Here when I say end product, people are talking about how hydrogen is going to be used as a fuel. You cannot have hydrogen produced at a remote location and transport it. So people are talking about modular electrolyzers. So you already have a fuel station, you have a solar. India is rich in solar and wind. So you set up on-site generation of hydrogen. So you set up modular electrolyzers which can produce hydrogen and which can be readily used as a fuel at the site. So this is the concept which primarily the mission is driving it out. Yeah. And one is the modular electrolyzers, and next comes the PEM fuel cells. Fuel cells again has got different categories, where the PEM is the successful product which has been used worldwide using the Nafion membrane developed by DuPont, as it is more durable when it comes to the mobility. So the development of PEM fuel cells, starting from the fuel cell vehicles can start from a small, like a go-kart, like 500 watts or 1 kilowatt. Right. So these kind of pilot projects are already being, IOCL is launching one go-kart with fuel cells. Yes. So the mission mode projects with end product development and grand challenge, where you develop critical technologies. When I say critical technologies,
I get that. You know, we just, I'm looking at this clock staring at us, and we have few miles to cover, but your point is well taken. Hydrogen as a landscape, FCEVs as a newer technology is shaping up. Quickly, Ganesh, I'm going to come to you, and the discussion is so much around, I started by sustainability, and we spoke about, environmental impact. So would you like to talk quickly about what is happening in that space?
So again, I'll try and limit to sort of an area that I am a little more familiar with. SFO Technologies, we are an electronics manufacturer. Yeah. So I'll speak within that space related to EVs.
That is also so critical, because it's a toxic waste. It's not environment friendly. So it's very important to know.
So the choices that are made on sustainability or environment are really made either at product design or at manufacturing equipment investment. And today, all of those investments are being guided by, to my mind, 3 things. One is government policy such as PLI.
Yes.
Second is total cost of ownership, which is the economics of it all.
Correct.
And third is the collective conscience of boards and management.
Yes.
Whereas, if you really look at it, what one would expect to happen is that similar regulation is expected. One would expect that there will be rules, laws, that will emerge in the area of sustainability and environment.
Also, definitely they
will.
So
today, I would believe that this is an area which is underserved or underthought, because today there are people, companies, and therefore people who are investing significant amount of money, time, etc., and building product designs, building factory designs, building supply chains with only a projection of what the laws will bring.
Correct.
So to my mind, it's an underserved area, the area of sustainability and environment.
But at the same time, there are opportunities too. Because, for example, even the, recovering the precious metal from semiconductor waste is a wonderful opportunity in waiting.
Yeah, so look, I know there's a clock staring. I don't want to talk about individuals, but for each there is a pain and a gain. And nobody knows where it will rest. Nobody really knows where it will rest. So today, to my mind, the entire area of sustainability and environment in the EV space is really driven by management conscious and cost more than anything else. And we'll have to find out how it converges with law in the future.
How it converges, but I think I share Uday's optimism. I'm sitting next to him that there will be opportunities there. Quickly, Suman, coming to you, we talked about this sustainability. There is so much talk about battery, what happens to battery after its life cycle. There is so much talk about the blood mining, nickel, cobalt, some of the precious metal coming from imports, heavy import dependency. environmental impact, life cycle, at the end of the life cycle. Would you like to throw some light on how electric vehicles industry is looking at that part?
To answer your point, Ganesh, there is a lot of end-of-life vehicle laws that are coming. There is a lot that is coming down the pipes, and the draft stages are already out, and there is a lot of onus on the OEM. So to what, how much, to what degree, already there were a lot, right? There was already around packaging, there were already around recycling, and now this is coming with the end-of-life vehicle. We have to do a lot as
Yes.
OEMs. And, the obvious ones, obviously we are doing, the green energy consumption, like the solar, using the solar for our plants, all that stuff, water, recycling, no groundwater wastage. All of those are already done at the Mahindra plants, because Mahindra has taken a target of 2040 carbon neutral. While it could be 2070 for the country as a whole, it's just 2040 for us. So we are actively working on all the dimensions possible, water, air, trees. We are planting lots of trees. In fact, the vehicles sold by last mile mobility itself account to 55 lakh trees, and significant amount of environmental pollution is avoided. But again, on the recycling, only at pilot stage it is happening. And we are working with a lot of companies who are bringing any solution to us, actually. Whether it is Second Life, for which we need a better SOH estimation, what is the life of the battery left, so where can it go? That we are working with a lot of, we have our own battery scientists who are doing this. And then on the recycling, it's very nascent stage, because globally the technology that is recycled is NMC. Whereas a lot of batteries in India is LFP, which needs a different level of extraction. So we are partnering a lot with companies
I
and
get
doing
it. And I know it was a little bit, technology is on the development cycle, and it has to see that, cross that valley of death to be able to actually make commercial point where, but the underlining message is, even today, as India is scaling up renewable capacity, the actual KWH, MWH, GWH, 60 to 70% is still from thermal. So we have a long way to build that capacity. But quickly coming to you, you rightly hit the nail on the head that so much needs to happen in commercial vehicle space for us to take the whole environmental impact seriously. What exactly needs to happen, and what is being done at this stage?
Look, I think, Dr. Ravinder, ये होगा. कई बार negativity रहती है कि क्यों नहीं हुआ. Rome wasn't built in one day. Takes time.
Yes.
India में हमें हर चीज़ एक दिन में चाहिए. Right? So I think, देखिए, when we started this journey, I know Mahindra was there, Piaggio was there. Now everybody's there. And it tells me that everybody wants to be, as soon as the big boys and the big girls are in the party, it's going to happen, right? And it's the need of the hour. I think for electrification, and I'm not just talking about EV, we're talking about hydrogen and many other technologies. And let me be clear with you. We're going to build it here. We have the technologists, we have the people here. We don't need Sundar Pichai, or we don't need Satya Nadella to go to the United States. I don't know why people are going to Canada anyway. Stay here, build them here. But coming back, again, I think we need a firm, stable government policy. What I find is, as businessmen, as industrialists, as startups, as OEMs that are incumbents, you want a stable government policy. I will tell you, I think, FAME 2, FAME 1, FAME 2, I think there's been a lot of uncertainty, with it. I think we need somebody. If you look at Uncle Joe, God bless his heart, there's a stable policy in the United States. There's a stable policy in the United Kingdom, in Japan, in Korea. We want a stable government policy.
Sure.
हमने ये करना है, उसी पे stick करो.
Correct.
कोई गलत काम करता है तो उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि policy को ही stop कर दो. Right? Bureaucrats will never make a decision.
Yeah.
Right? They're concerned about their jobs. I'm sorry, I'm talking controversially again, but I think we've got to have a stable business. Businesses put money for 30 years, for 50 years. We really need that. Number two, I think alliance. मैं कहता हूँ सपनों का भारत, EV का भारत, टेक्नोलॉजी का भारत, बट इसमें सबको साथ काम करने वाला भारत चाहिए. तभी हम लोग we're going to get to where we want to get. So I think an alliance, and I think there's enough market, there is enough demand, things can be done.
Yeah.
And I think lastly, I would say, I think that, alliances, I think, honestly, we can make it in India with the people, with the technology. But if in certain areas we need alliances, well, bring them here. Let's have an alliance based, the world of just individuals fighting each other is gone. And I think an alliance based business, and I think whether it's in battery tech, look, to sell manufacture, it's not so easy. You know, I spent a lot of time with the CATL boys and girls. It takes time. So I think we've got to be able to have that alliance base, whether Europeans, Americans, Canadians, whoever, Japanese, the Koreans, we've got to build an alliance. I think in the next 5 to 7 years, you're going to see it. I think we have an opportunity in India to do it. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think I can't agree with you more that to inspire investor confidence for a long-term investment, you need a resilient, robust policy. I also completely agree that collaboration is the way to go. And I can cite just one example that Toyota launched this strong hybrid electric vehicle in which the rich blend of ethanol can also be used with battery powertrain. So, you know, the thing about biofuels is that it has an inclusive element. It includes the farmer in the entire value chain. And for an agrarian economy like India, including the farmers, because farmers are able to sell their agricultural waste and get alternate revenue stream, which can be used from waste to wealth. So it can make fuels that can go in the IC engine, that helps environment, that helps energy security, that helps inclusive growth of rural community. And again, for that, they need to work with the IC engine people, also with the electric people. So I think coexistence is the key. We are just about hitting the time, but I think the panel was unanimous in saying that innovation is the way forward, whether it is in engine space, whether it is in fuel space, or whether it is, for that matter, as a matter of circular economy, which is end of the life cycle. So we are going to look at whale to wheel, or for that matter, farm to wheel in the bio terms. Digitalization is the way to go. Digital twins, use of AI, ML, use of big data to be able to do predictive analysis is very important in the future mobility landscape. Everybody was united in saying that sustainability is one dimension we need to keep eye on. That's where the Prime Minister called for this clarion call of lifestyle for environment. Everything we do, from mindless consumption to mindful utilization, was the life movement. And I think that's where sustainability kicks in, whether it is journey to net zero, or whether it is adoption of circular economy, or whether it is transition of energy to cleaner, greener sources. Undoubtedly, talent is at the bottom of everything. Unless we have competent people who can help us transform the change, we cannot make this transition happen. Policy has unprecedentedly important role to play, where we need to inspire investor confidence, industry confidence, and finally, coexistence of different type of technologies, different stakeholders, different energy sources is the need of the day. We don't want to compete, but we want to collaborate. That's the message that this panel has. The clock is saying time is up. I don't know, Sujata, whether we have time for 1 or 2 questions from the audience. No. So that's about it. I want to thank again Sujata, Vibhor, and Hafiz for the opportunity. Thank you for being so lovely panelists and so lovely audience. Thank you.
All our panelists on stage. Can we clap for them once again, everybody? To do the felicitation, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Sumit Doshi, MD, UKG, India, to join us on stage. I'd also like to invite Ms. Sujata Vishnuraj, Editor, Manufacturing Today, to join us in doing the honors. Ladies and gentlemen, let's clap for Ms. Suman Mishra, CEO, Mahindra Last Mile Mobility. Can we clap for her, everybody? Mr. Uday Narang, founder, Omega Seki Mobility. Mr. Ganesh Shinkre, CEO, Western India SFO Technologies, to please come forward. I'd like to invite Mr. Rafiq Somani, Area Vice President, India and South Asia Pacific, Anxious. I'd like to invite Mr. P.V. Chakrapani, Director, Texol Energies Private Limited, to join us. We'd now like to invite our moderator, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Ravindra Udgikar, Vice President Corporate Strategy, Praj Industries Limited. Thank you to all of you. Thank you once again. That was a wonderful panel discussion.